Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our session on building digital policy for sustainable e-waste management here at the IGF 2025. My name is Saba Tuku. I'm a former MAG member as well as currently serving as a junior advisor at the GIZ Africa Union office, and I will be moderating this session. So this session, we will be discussing the urgency of e-waste management and its policy implications. We will explore different global frameworks such as ITU's or International Telecommunications Union EPR principles, as well as different national legislations promoting sustainable e-waste management within states. We shall also explore the role of different actors, including policymakers, IC device producers, civil society, and the individual users in fostering sustainability as well. Our distinguished speakers, of course, will share their best practices from diverse regions on how digital innovations can really support e-waste reduction as well as circular economy principles and their real world impacts. So saying this, let's quickly meet our speakers, and I will ask each one of them to briefly introduce themselves. So I will start with online speakers, if they have joined. First, we have Emmanuel. Okay, so I will go ahead with our on-site speakers, and I will first start with Hossam.
Okay. Hossam El Gamal, I'm a private sector representative from Africa. I am currently a MAG member, and I used to be a MAG member for 3 years before. And I focus mainly on Industry 4 solutions and application. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hossam. Thank you for joining us. And we have Jasmine.
Thank you for having me here. This is Jasmine Ko from Hong Kong. So I have a personal passion on sustainable consumption and intersecting with the internet. So I'm here. And now currently I'm a co-founder of Hong Kong Youth IGF. I was a former project lead and researcher on Eco-Internet Index Initiative. So the reason that I'm being here is to bring up Asia perspective, good case practices, and also how my former research experience could give an insight from a broader sustainable carbon footprint measurement methodology into e-waste. So that's why I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sabah. Hi, everyone. My name is Usama El-Mrai. I am currently a youth ambassador for the Internet Society, and I work in the digital infrastructure. I help medium and large-size companies, basically with their data infrastructure, with business intelligence, and also with sustainability. I'm deeply engaged with sustainability. I worked with in diverse industry, automotive, fintech, and currently the agribusiness, where we are helping industries manage their energy monitoring and working as well on prediction. So happy to be here today.
Thank you very much. Glad to have you all here. And then I will go ahead and give the floor to our online moderator and our rapporteur to briefly also introduce themselves.
Greetings, everyone. Can you hear?
Yep.
Yeah, thank you so much. My name is Atanas Paizira. From the Democratic Republic of Congo, and I'll be helping with online moderation here. And happy to be here with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Atanas. We have Dina as our online moderator. Dina, are you with us? Okay.
Hey, Saba. We can proceed for now. Thank you.
All right. So thank you to all of you. Now let's dive deep into our discussion. I'll now invite each of our speakers to respond to a questions which is tailored to their area of expertise. So you will have maximum up to 5 minutes so that we have a space for Q&A as well as for audience interaction. So we will start with Hossam. So building on your engagement in the digital policy, throughout the years, what role do you really think that technology companies and manufacturers can play in reducing e-waste, and how can those digital policies can incentivize sustainable design, recycling, and reuse? Over to you.
Thank you. Well, e-waste is a very interesting topic because from one end it represents a clear challenge, especially in developing countries, but at the same time it does represent opportunity in the same time. So with proper actions, we can easily turn the challenge into opportunity and into even a profit for some. In order to be able to handle waste management, we always need to start with awareness, and then we need to have capacity building for the right people that are going to handle e-waste. Then we need incentivized legislation or policies that would encourage corporates providing, producing electronics to do the post implementation support and to recycle or to change or to dismantle properly their goods. And finally, we need to have clear regulations that would be respected in the way they are going to handle the e-waste. I will give you, for example, in Egypt, this is my country, Egypt is one of the major producers of e-waste annually in Africa, with an estimated 370,000 tons, and projected to increase further due to rapid technological adoption and shorter product life cycle. Generally, this sector is really dominated by informal side. Large portion of e-waste is still managed by the informal sector, garbage dealers, waste collectors, etc. While they do recover some valuable material, their practice are often involve crude and unsafe methods. Example, open burning or acid leaching, leading to severe environmental pollution and health risk for workers and surrounding communities. We had a legislation in 2020, legislation law 202, for the e-waste as hazardous waste and with specific condition, providing guideline for collection, recycling, and disposal through authorized factories under the Ministry of Environment. And also we have import restriction, a restriction to import used electronics older than 5 years old is completely prohibited, and it is completely prohibited to the importation of e-waste. Egypt is also a member of Basel Convention, which controls the transboundary movement of hazardous waste, including e-waste. But the fact is, we have limited formal infrastructure. Despite the regulations, the formal collection and recycling of infrastructure remain very limited. Only small percentage of generated e-waste is formally corrected and recycled, with the majority ending up in uncontrolled landfills or being informally processed. And there is a huge awareness gap, lack of public awareness among Egyptian households regarding proper e-waste disposal and recycling processes. Many consumers store old electronics or dispose them with regular trash. There is, from another perspective, an emerging initiatives. Some initiatives are such Dr. We, which uses smartphone app to incentivize e-waste collection and facilitate proper dismantling and sorting. So what we need to build a true sustainable and people-centered e-waste management system in Egypt. A comprehensive set of regulation and policies needed, focusing on key areas. So strengthening and enforcing extended producer responsibility EPR is very important, with clear mandate where to implement robust EPR scheme that legally mandate manufacturers, importers, and retailers to take responsibility for their electronic products, including collection, take back, recycling, and safe disposal. We need to have more producer responsibility organization, PROs. We should encourage and mandate the establishment of PROs that would collect and manage e-waste. We need to have more eco-design incentives, providing incentives like tax breaks, preferential market access for manufacturers to design products that are more durable, repairable, upgradable, and easily recycled will minimize hazardous material and promote modularity. We need to formalize and integrate the informal sector. Informal sector need capacity building and guidance to train informal collectors and recyclers on environmental sound management practices, health and safety protocols, and basic business skills. And we need then to access technology and finance to facilitate dismantling and material recovery, and provide financial support or microloans to upgrade their operation. And of course, we need fair labor practices, establishing regulation to prevent child labor and ensure fair working conditions and wages within the informal e-waste sector. Also, probably we need formal links between the informal collection networks and the formal recycling facility, ensuring a seamless and efficient flow of e-waste. Of course, we need to encourage advanced recycling facilities, logistics and transportation, but mostly promoting consumer awareness and behavior change. Public education campaigns are extremely important, using various media and to educate consumers about the environmental and health risks of improper e-waste management, and guide them to do properly the disposal of the e-waste. Finally, we need to foster circular economy principles, so repair and use ecosystem, material recovery and reintroduction, green public procurement, and we need to strengthen and monitor and report the data collection of e-waste and flow analysis. I think I will stop here. I hope that I have given enough info for the time being. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hossam, for that very good intervention, especially reflecting upon the experience as well as lessons from Egypt. Much appreciated. Now I'll go ahead to Jasmine. As we all know, multi-stakeholder is big at IGF, right? And I wanted to ask, based on your experience over the years, can you tell us how multi-stakeholder collaboration can really drive effective implementation of a circular economy principles when it comes to digital technologies, production, as well as disposal?
Yeah, thank you very much, Sabah. So actually, the implementation comes with a timeline that you need to have, firstly, the shared visions and policy cohesion, right? And then second, you come into encouraging the industry leaders, the private sector, and also civil society to have innovative and sustainable design. And then you come to implementation and how to make sure that when you launch the, the eco-design products to really put e-waste, electronic devices. So electronic devices, in order to be more, have higher responsibility to environment, is actually start from the concept of you when you design the product itself. And how do you improve the circular economy design model and mindset when you design a product? And then it is about the package. So after you launch the electronic, products, it's also about how do you do logistic, right? How do you make sure your collection is efficient and the recycling process is, it's closing the loop from production to waste management. Just echoing with Hossam, right? What you just mentioned previously, a lot of the generative e-waste was not properly being recycled and put in the circle that close to the loop of the circular economy. Therefore, this is the problem here. So just add a little bit more context at the beginning, the stage one that I just mentioned, policy cohesion, that really needs a multi-stakeholder approach platform that government can have, the proper and sufficient consultation with academia, civil society, and also business who are, designing their electronic products. So one example that I would like to share is the STEP initiative, Solving the E-Waste platform. So it's a platform that initiated by the UN to foster research and pilot projects, policy advice as well on the e-waste management. So this is just one example. So after, having this kind of policy level, just like what you have mentioned previously as well about beyond extending the EPR scheme, eco-design regulations, it's something more about its the right to repair legislation. It is to empower consumers and independent repair shops to really fix the device and extend the lifespan, give them a second life. And afterwards, going back to how the industry itself, when they design a product, they could have more interaction with the academia who do the research on how to make sure that the product itself is eco-friendly. And this could be a collaboration with the startup network as well. And so for the design, some kind of new business model is, of course, you guys may know it's about the PaaS model, the product as a service model. So it's about the leasing the devices instead of selling them, right? So in that way, from the beginning, we can already reduce the consumption of electronic devices and the services, so that this is how we could make sure that we could do harm less our environment. And in the business sector, I think something that some business have been done, in a certain level is about take back and training programs, our iPhone, right, something like that, and also about refurbishment and remanufacturing, kind of restoring the product with like new condition, something like that. And lastly, back to what I mentioned as well on the logistics level and also recycling collection, it's about the logistic network itself, how we could make sure manufacturer, retailer, and third-party logistic provider could have a closer collaborations. I think something that initiative have been done, such as by DHL in Hong Kong. They are doing something collaboration with us, a social enterprise called Recycle. So they are one of the startup and social enterprise to recycle the plastic in Hong Kong. And so this kind of multi-stakeholder collaboration could really have been put in the practice for 5-6 years. In the beginning, it was not easy, but then it's a great attempt. And now we see that private sector and then startup and also civil society come together, not just reducing the e-waste, but also providing more local empowerment opportunities. So that's like a win-win situation. And I think that's some, that's the timeline that I just mentioned, and also some cases according to different stage I could share here. So I'll give the floor back to Sabah.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jasmine, for your wonderful intervention. Indeed, also for mentioning about the multi-stakeholder initiatives and how the industry itself can support this, can strengthen this. And also you mentioned some examples coming from the Hong Kong. And also, yes, as you said, we need more local empowerment opportunities. So I will now go ahead with our interventions from the online speakers. We have Thelma. Thelma from Smart Africa. Thelma, I will give you the floor to first briefly introduce yourself to the floor, and then I will go ahead and with my question, which is from Smart Africa's perspective as a leading international organization in the digital space. What best practices from different regions can really inform the development of globally aligned digital policies when it comes to e-waste management, and how can this be adopted to local context? Over to you.
Thank you very much, and once again, my apologies. I think I joined in a bit late. So by way of introduction, my name is Thelma Kay, and within Smart Africa, I lead the digital infrastructure, digital skills, as well as gender matters. And maybe for the purpose of those who do not know Smart Africa, we are a Pan-African organization, and our focus really is on building a single digital market through a multi-stakeholder approach. We have a membership of about 40 countries and over 60 private sector. So, we bring that fine mix of public and private sector towards digital development. So to the question, I think I'm going to start with an experience I had when I visited Romania for the first time. And that was the first time I saw a refurbished shop, which was not black market. A shop where you could get all sorts of devices refurbished, of course, according to the grade or according to how old it is. And I thought to myself, I think this is a really good idea, because at that time we were grappling with, how do we how do we process e-waste, especially phones that people, throw away every now and then, because they are not of good quality, they are cheap, and then people are always having to replace it. And so after that, we really then decided we need to give a full thought to e-waste being a core pillar of whatever we do, so that and if you think about it, it also helps in terms of inclusivity and sustainable digital ecosystems, right? Because if you think about inclusivity, it's not only about the gender, but all around in terms of even those who cannot afford it. And so within one of our flagship projects, and just for context, what we do is we usually take projects according to different thematics. It will be led by a country, but usually it has a Pan-African approach. And so one of our flagship projects called Affordable Devices for All, which was led by the Congo, for us was a good opportunity to make sure that we are thinking about e-waste, one as a sustainable approach, but also through inclusivity. And so from the very beginning of that project, we embedded a circular economy approach, which ensures that affordability didn't come at the cost of sustainability. We also added an end-of-life management, and I believe it was at the same time that ITU was also developing a document on end-of-life management, which we adapted. And so, so that this won't be a future concern, but a design from the beginning. Permit me to share 3 best practices based on your question from our region that we believe can inform global aligned digital policies on e-waste and how we can adapt them to our realities. For me, number 1 is to ensure that we embed e-waste in digital access strategies. So, we always have, countries have broadband strategies, digital inclusion strategies, and I think one of the many portions of that strategy should ensure that countries are including recovery, recycling, and refurbishment targets in these sort of plans and strategies. In this case, it then becomes a policy issue, and then we are able to carry it forward and it's sustainable. For me, number 2, which is really critical, is also to promote refurbishment and reuse, just like my experience in Romania. This allows us to create secondary markets for our devices. That is one, but it also generates jobs, which is one of our biggest problems of our government in Africa. It also helps us to reduce harmful imports and keeps value within our community. So a device second life should happen locally, should generate economic value, should generate jobs, but not end up in a landfill, for instance. And finally, is to strengthen regulation and regional harmonization. It's very important, especially because of the way we have a lot of people, crisscrossing our borders. So for instance, Nigeria's extended producer responsibility framework, for me, is one key example to show. It shows, for instance, how manufacturers can be held accountable for the full life cycle of a device, right? Even though you're a manufacturer, your job doesn't end when you have sold the device, for instance. So I think that's something that is really key. It talks about how manufacturers need to be held accountable, need to follow through till the end of that device, even if it changes ownership. And another example I'd like to share is a regional one where IECO, the East African Community Organization, are leading efforts to harmonize cross-border e-waste rules. What this does, it creates an enabling environment for coordination, and it also curbs leakage. So what's key in Africa and often overlooked in global frameworks for us is the importance of adapting to local contexts, right? We shouldn't just copy and paste. So, for instance, the informal repair economy is thriving in many African cities. There's no device that you would have that you will not have somebody who can repair it within Africa. So the technician and the skill is not a problem to be solved, but how do we mainstream it? How do we upscale this? How do we upscale it so that we formalize it and then it becomes part of the whole value chain of devices as well as e-waste? Then, second for me, of importance to adapting to local context is investing in citizen awareness. I think over the past decade, we have invested a lot in teaching people how to use device, how to use it for economic value, how to use it to improve their lives. But have we taught them how to care for it, how to extend its life, how to dispose it of responsibly? How many of us do not have 3 other devices lying idle in our homes? So I think that's something that we also need to focus on in terms of citizen awareness. And so as I conclude, for us, we're already building the models that are locally grounded and we believe are globally relevant. Smart Africa, for us, this is central to everything because we are thinking long term, we are thinking sustainability, and this ranges from devices, connectivity to data governance and beyond. And so my message today is simple. If we design for sustainability from the start, e-waste becomes not just manageable, but transformative for all of us. So thank you very much for the time. And I'll be here if there's any further questions.
Thank you very much, Thelma, for your interventions. Indeed, you mentioned some of the examples led by Congo, as well as some of the initiatives in Romania, and also some of the best practices, which is first to ensure embedded e-waste to embed e-waste into accessibility, and also promoting reuse, which can also generate job as well as economic growth, and also strengthening the cross-regional collaboration, which is important. And thank you again for that. I'll now go ahead and give the floor to our online speaker, Emmanuel. Thank you very much for joining us. First, we'd like you to briefly introduce yourself and then reflect upon, given from your experience working within the ITU, which is the International Telecommunication Union. We know that ITU has been making a lot of effort to address in e-waste, So how can governments as well as regulatory bodies can strengthen the digital policies such as the extended producer responsibility or EPR and the right to repair and to ensure sustainable e-waste management? Over to you.
Thank you so much, Saba. Good morning, everyone. Sorry, apologies for joining a bit late. I got confused of the time. Sorry for that, and happy that I'm able to be part of this very interesting discussion. Yeah, my name's, as Saba said, I'm called Emmanuel Nicola. I'm a program officer at ITU, Regional Office for Africa. I'm based in Senegal, the ITU office that cover the West Africa. But in my work streams, I also work on programs that addresses the issues of e-waste, especially the extended producer responsibility efforts with countries. And I also coordinate capacity and skills development, the youth-related activities at ITU. So ITU, I think, has been introduced by Saba. ITU is a United Nations specialized agency for digital technologies. It's a member-driven organization. We have 194 member states, and also at plus 1,000 sector, academia, and international organization member states. So when it comes to e-waste, so e-waste is one of electronics and electrical waste is one of the fastest growing waste streams globally, for reasons that I think we all know with the growing technology. So according to the Global E-Waste Monitor, we are currently generating over 62 million tons annually of e-waste. So then when we look at we have 22%, which is formally collected and recycled, so which means the remaining 78 remain unmanaged, and resulting in polluting our land, air, water, and causing severe health risks in the process. So we know the uptake of mobile phones and the laptops. So behind every discarded phone and laptops, laptop lie a hidden cost. You know, we can ask ourselves when we discard our phones and our laptops, where they go. I think most of us we don't know what happens after we discard our phone and our laptops. So that's the problem that we need to address. So this unchecked or unaddressed growth of e-waste poses significant threat to our environment. But this crisis also presents an opportunity to transition from traditional or linear to a circular economy where electronic products are designed, used, and recycled more sustainably. So that's where the ITU has been working with countries to work on what we call extended producer responsibility frameworks and policies. So we've been working with countries like Rwanda and Zambia to develop this extended producer responsibility work streams. We are also now initiating a project a project that that is focusing on international knowledge exchange, where we bring countries together to learn from each other and strengthen their e-waste regulatory frameworks. So this international exchange program is a new one and very interesting, where we have two countries in Africa, Nigeria, South Africa, and then we have other countries like Colombia, India, that we work together to run from each other. So this is a part of global South cooperation effort. The projects will promote exchange of best practices and the lessons learned on extended producer responsibility, sustainable financing, and stakeholder engagement strategies for e-waste management. So through study tours, there'll be study tours in Africa. We'll have a study tour in Pretoria and Joburg, where there is a recycling company to run what's being done there. So sharing lessons, and that will result then in developing a policy toolkit for extended producer responsibility. So the initiative aims to equip African policymakers and industry stakeholders, because this will involve policy, public and industry stakeholders. So with the tools to build inclusive and environmentally sound, economically and viable circular economy systems. So this initiative aligns with the work of ITU, on creating circular economy for electronics. This is in nutshell what I could share that for ITU. So extended producer responsibility aims to give the responsibility to the producers, right from when the design of the product, not really burden the government to take the responsibility of the e-waste management. So it should be a collective efforts, and this giving the responsibility to the producers right from the design to take into account the recycling and the disposal of the electronic waste. So this will create again a circular economy, and they create jobs. But of course, we know that when you add responsibility to producers, sometimes it ends up coming to the users, to the consumers. That's why this policy needs again a consultative efforts between different public organizations, public institutions, and government and the private producers.
Thank you
So we
so much,
also
Emmanuel. I
sorry.
would have to cut you because
Okay,
of
no,
our
it's fine.
time.
Yeah, I was just going to mention the involvement of youth, because we are also working to support the youth that have initiatives to contribute to do these efforts of circular economy and recycling of used products. So yeah, that was my final contribution. Thank you so much, and back to you, Saba.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel, for that wonderful intervention, and also for mentioning examples from across different countries from the region, as well as efforts done by the ITU when to address the e-waste management, as well as talking about the circular economy. I will now go ahead and give the floor to our last speaker, and then we will go ahead to our Q&A or any comment from the audience and online. Osam, from your experience working in the private sector, how do you think can data-driven technologies such as AI, as well as IoT, and digital products as well, can support the monitoring, enforcement, and innovation of e-waste policies across industries? Over to you.
Thank you, Saba. So when we are talking about e-waste policies, for example, the extended producer responsibility or the right to repair, we mainly focus on legislations, stakeholder engagement, or sustainability goal. But we rarely ask a very important question. What systems do we actually have to make these policies work? And from my perspective as a data professional, I believe that data-driven technologies are the essential tool to translate these policies into measurable and scalable action. And let me give you a simple truth. We can't manage what we can't measure. And right now, the e-waste, global e-waste system is mostly blind. When we are talking, for example, about the global e-waste monitor, the world generates over 62 million metric tons of e-waste. Less than 20% is formally collected and recycled, which means that we have millions of tons of devices, of batteries, of toxic components that are not accounted for. And here comes exactly the role of AI, IoT, and digital product passports. So let's start by AI. AI actually can help us automate our sorting in recycling facilities. It could help us also with detecting which materials we can, for example, recover. Also, it can help us forecast the product failure before it's happened. Also, it can help us detect and analyze the patterns of the global waste or the waste management. So this will give policymakers a real ability to act with precision rather than guesswork. Second, we have IoT. IoT, Internet of Things, is devices embedded with sensors and that have the capacity, in fact, to track their own usage, environmental exposure. And for example, we have a great example with smart bins that could, for example, tell us and track if the bins are full. They could tell us what type of e-waste we have inside them. And I had a cool experience with Cargill, where we were installing over hundreds of IoT sensors in our production site in over 160 machines, and we could, with technology, monitor the real-time impact of each machine. And lastly, and maybe the most transformative tool in this in the e-waste problem would be the digital product passports, the DPP. And DPP is simply a digital identity of a device, which can provide us with information about the materials of this product. It could provide us with the history of repair of this product, ownership, and most importantly, end-of-use instructions. This could empower not only recyclers and manufacturers, but could help the users to make smarter decisions about their products once they are not used. And we see the EU, the European Union, making great efforts, and actually they are mandating for electronic devices and textile starting from 2027. That's my problem here. If we want really to make impact, we should go further. And we should interpolize this tool across all borders, across all technologies. Otherwise, we will be creating silos rather than data sharing solutions. And lastly, I would mention that we must not overlook data responsibility, because with increasing traceability, we need clear rules about data privacy, about ownership and accessibility, which are all under the umbrella of data governance practices. And I will go back to you, Saba.
Thank you very much, Osam. You said one powerful word, which we can't manage what we can't measure. And of course, thank you very much for also mentioning about the digital products passport, also not overlooking the responsibilities, focusing into data privacy and data governance as well. And thank you for your interventions again. Now, Yes, since we have only a few minutes left, I will give the floor to Q&A or any comment from the floor. Of course, if you are joining us online, our online moderator, Atanas, will bring your questions to the floor. Okay, I see one question from on-site. Yes. Yes, that one. And please briefly introduce yourself and then to the question. Thank you.
Hi, do you hear me? Yeah. So, Leandro Navarro. I'm coming from an NGO, but I'm also a member of ITU, the Study Group 5, Question 7, which is about circular economy, waste, and supply chain. I was co-rapporteur until end of the year, but still I'm an expert. So just I wanted to comment that regarding ITU, there is also the ITU ITUT, in which we develop standards. And there are several standards which are publicly available that talk about different aspects of not only e-waste, but also the circular economy. You will find, for instance, one recommendation that provides guidelines for national legislation regarding e-waste. We are in the publication process of an e-waste collection standard, which standards are important because when it comes to develop legislation, it's important that there is certain harmonization across the different countries, especially because the electronics supply chain is global. And then it's a global problem, and we need global but also local, regional solutions to make sure that it doesn't get worse. And I recommend you to look at the L series of recommendations in which you will find different aspects, including one recommendation about EPR. But the problem is so hard that I think it's not enough to come up with legislation, regulation, but we need to act. And there is an encouragement to explore innovative ways to deal with a problem that is becoming bigger and bigger as we go. And in practical terms, for instance, a couple of examples. You were talking about the TPP. In my activist side of it, since I was working on standards on DPP in ITU, we are also working with different civil society organizations to develop open source implementations of digital passports for electronics. So if you want to go to github.com/reuse, you will find the code we are developing, because without open source implementations, we cannot really ensure that all the small, medium-sized and tiny organizations that are innovating, they need code, they need data, they need tools to produce this information, because digitalization is a form of formalization of the informal sector. And by lowering the entry barrier, we will enable to go from about 80% of products that disappear when they become waste to the opposite, because in the end it's an environmental problem. There is also encouragement to look at the opportunities to work on the right to repair in different regions. For instance, I'm part of the Right to Repair EU, but I encourage different communities to create these regional actors, because in the end, even though the problem is global, local solutions are different, and it's important to create an environment where innovation can find a community, a multi-stakeholder community that can guide them to make sure that they are successful, because the problem deserves solutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that comment. And do we have any questions online, Atanas?
Yes, Saba, thank you. We have a question from Nicholas here. It says, with the rapid progress in post-quantum cryptography and the reality that many existing IoT devices cannot be adapted due to firmware and hardware limitations, how should government and regulators prepare for the imminent wave for cryptographical obsolete devices, especially to ensure secure and off-life handling and enforcement under EPR frameworks?
Thank you very much. Anyone would like to reflect?
Yeah. Can I just quickly reflect on-site response? I really appreciate you sharing the work standards that have been set by the ITU. I think they are good resources for national governments, regional alliance, and even the grassroots community. They have been who care about e-waste to actually look into it. And the thing is how I think some of you also mentioned it's about localizing the global problem. How do we make sure that we are able to adopt and really design something that is fit into the community, because people may have different user behavior, we have different density, we have different language. So it's all about how do the people bring the great global resources back to the local. So I think that something that my community have been doing, trying to references to some global standards and try to implement. There are many challenges, I have to say, because it is about what we haven't mentioned, more about consumer behavior and mindset is how would people be incentivized to really add on reducing their own e-waste, right? Such as, choosing some product that in the end of the life cycle creating less waste, or they really do trade in, or really to recycle their the devices they've been using. So in Hong Kong, we actually have recycling branches in all 18 districts, but we know that the problem is Hong Kong people are always overtime working, and then the opening hour of these office are actually kind of crushed to business hours. So we cannot recycle in a weekday. So everyone have to rush to recycle in a weekend, and that creates some kind of logistic problem. So something that being smartly developed, it's the Hong Kong government trying to have some flexible hour on some mobile stations. So not just in physical stores, they actually have a truck to go around different districts in BC office CBD area, so that to cater people who really want to do recycling during the office hour or the lunch break. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jasmine, for your reflections. Since we only have 5 minutes, I would like to maybe ask each panelist to share a final key takeaways, or just share upon the comment that was made from our on-site participant. So yeah, something actionable in just 30 seconds or 1 minute maximum. And I will start with on-site. Yeah.
So once again, Hussam El Gamal, Private Sector Africa. In brief, and especially if I'm talking to developing countries, e-waste is a challenge, a risk, but is really an opportunity. E-waste management is a real opportunity. Why? Because first of all, it can be bankable. E-waste can be considered as bankable projects. And thus, what is required for countries is to search for existing success stories of bankable projects managing e-waste, and build on that to replicate in their own countries. One thing very important for all countries to work on e-waste is the fact that e-waste reply to many of the SDGs. I'll just name I will number the SDGs, and then you can name it because there are too many. SDG 12, target 12.4, 12.5, SDG 3, target 3.9, SDG 6, target 6.3, SDG 8, target 8.8, SDG 11, target 11.6, SDG 14, 15, and 13. And indirectly SDG 4, 9, and 17. So for any country working on the SDGs and having a plan to achieve, this is quite important to take into consideration and to encourage having bankable project in this area, and to create the proper awareness for the different stakeholders with that regard. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Jasmine?
Okay, sorry. So I think one takeaway for each of you is be aware that how many devices you have, and also considering what kind of more eco-friendly design product that you could have. Think about how you could do more and waste less in your own personal capacity. I think that's my call to action.
Okay. So from my side, three fast takeaways. First of all, government industry should invest in digital infrastructure, not just in policies, because this is where we can make the e-waste traceable. Second, we need, like we said, to make these global standards, international standards for the products, passports, to make the compliance and innovation in a global scale. And lastly, I believe that we should stop treating data as an afterthought. In fact, data is not for just transparency, but it's the foundation of accountability as well for a key circular economy. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sam. Manuel and Telma.
Okay. Should I go?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So thank you very much for the opportunity, and I couldn't agree less with the first three panelists. And allow me to summarize what they have said to say, if we want a truly global, digital future, we need to build one where sustainability is not an afterthought. It has to be sustainability by design. We need to be our own architects. And when it comes to e-waste, it's an opportunity, it's a great opportunity to create value, to drive innovation, and show what inclusive and circular digital economies can look like. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Telma and Emmanuel.
Thank you so much. I think my previous speakers have already said, for me, I would say, yes, design, sustainability by design. And then it has to be a consultative approach, private and public consultations. So in terms of when we are building the extended producer responsibility policies, so we need to involve everyone, including the youth. Then to bring in innovation. That is important. Look at the youth that are very active in this space, because there's no solution now to e-waste. So we need to bring in innovation, and when we talk innovation, we need to support the youth innovations in this space. So that's my contribution, and then come all together, public and private, in building the policies, but also in applying the policies, making sure that, especially in the case for Africa, making sure that we know what comes in.
Absolutely.
In terms of
thank you very much, Emmanuel.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're a bit over time. So I'd like to say yes, thank you so much to all of our speakers, both on-site and online, also to our rapporteurs, online moderators for joining us and staying with us. As a requirement, we'll be posting the key summaries as well as takeaways on the IGF website. So please feel free to go ahead and read or refer it. So yeah, that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's take a photo together.